indeed I want to thank Minister Byrne for staying here to answer it. And often I'm in the chair and I see you in the situation of having to deal with some of those questions, which isn't easy for you. But I think we do need to get our point of view across. Unfortunately, Minister, when it comes to mental health services, Roscommon has been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. We were all familiar with the external review into mental health services in County Roscommon, which, as you know, painted a damning indictment of a service in crisis mode. A service, I might remind you, where it was deemed a culture of blame, secrecy and negativity abounds. One of the worst cases in the country, no doubt about that. And I brought our own spokesman here, Deputy James Brown, to a special conference evening in Roscommon, and I think he was shocked and astounded at what was revealed there. Now, in the programme for Government, Minister, a commitment was made to improve the mental health services in the country. And the reason I'm raising this on the topical issues today is to seek assurances that those key recommendations will be implemented without any further delay, and to seek an update on what recommendations, if they have already been implemented. Let us remember, in relation to that review carried out in Roscommon, it commenced in August 2015 and it was finally completed in September 2017, 2 years on. And while I accept the 3 independent people who carried out that report needed to get every fact and figure, that was an extraordinary length of time when you're dealing with mental health issues. Now, what's the point in having such reviews carried out if they're just left on the shelf to gather dust? And with the crisis that I'm entering into, and we were here yesterday evening with Minister Jim Daly in relation to the Rosalie Centre in Castlerea in Roscommon, to try and save that unit where there are 12 patients, which has a capacity for 33, but it's been simply run down by the HSE. And it is time, Minister, it is time that the HSE took its orders from the Government and from the Minister. We need that space in the Rosalie unit in Roscommon. We need our hostels. There's a number of hostels being threatened with closure at the moment. And no matter what the elected members or the HSE forum members or Deputy Brown or myself or any of my colleagues say, the HSE continue to take their decisions and move the way they want to. And they continuously tell people like me and others, we know best for the patient. Well, I can tell you, there's many of those families and people I know, and some of those situations I know best, and their families know best, and their local GP knows best for what those patients need. And sometimes the HSE are totally wrong. And this clinical assessment that goes on and on and on every time, and in one of the cases in Roscommon at the moment in relation to the Rosalie Centre, we're being told that the patients that there don't longer need psychiatric nurses. They're moving on now to older care. But the reality is there has been a bond built up between those patients and the staff. And really what's happening, Minister, and I cannot get this through to the HSE, you're making people unhappy. Now, one of the things we all try to do in relation to mental health is to try and make people happy again. Conversation, get them at ease, talk to them. You know that yourself, Minister Byrne. I know that you put a lot of work in your own constituency in on issues like this. So what I'm saying here this evening, in my view, the Government needs to have strong words with the HSE and instruct them not to be doing this to people, not to be making them unhappy and not to be making their families unhappy. And I thank you again for taking the question here this evening.
Thanks, Chair. Minister.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just read this prepared statement and then I've addressed some of the issues that Deputy Murphy has raised. I'm thanked and taking this matter on behalf of Minister Daly. Mental health remains a priority for this Government, reflected by additional £35 million given in the last budget, thus bringing the total HSE funding this year to £910 million. The HSE is committed to ensuring that mental health services are delivered and modernised nationally, including those in Galway and Roscommon mental health area. The objective is to reinforce through the HSE plan for 2018. In 2015, the Executive deemed it necessary to conduct an independent review of the quality, safety and governance of Roscommon Mental Health Service to support achieving the goals set out in a vision for change and other relevant national policies. Within a short period of time of being commissioned, it was clear that the initial time frame proposed to conduct a review was insufficient, and the review team received more time to complete its work. So the subsequent comprehensive report made 27 recommendations for local services to be improved. The report indicated that the review team was impressed by the majority of the staff it met or interviewed, and highlighted their commitment that services improved in Roscommon. The overriding concern of the majority of those interviewed, staff, service users and carers, was that patients and family in Roscommon were not receiving services in line with best practice to meet the required quality, safety of care standards. Core issues highlighted, for example, in the report relate to improving multidisciplinary team working, addressing fractured relationships among some of the local staff, enhancing line management and ensuring allocated funding is spent appropriately. The steering group to oversee the implementation of the recommendation of the report, which was published on the 5th of September 2017, has had regular meetings since that time. The initial focus on the steering group was to work through each of the recommendations and set out clear, positive, achievable actions. Following this, the project manager was tasked with drafting an action plan, which was signed off by the steering group in January last. This is currently being considered by the HSE at national level. Arrangements have also been made to ensure independent oversight of implementation of the action plan. Some of the recommendations have already been implemented and more in process of doing so. As highlighted in the report, other recommendations require targeted approach to change management. In this regard, external change management practitioners have been employed to work through the changes directly with HSE staff. Communications have taken place with all relevant stakeholders, including service users, family members, staff, unions and public representatives, and the HSE will continue this process of engagement. The action plan will be committed to all relevant stakeholders once it has been signed off. The action plan will be communicated to all relevant stakeholders once it is signed off, as HSE corporate level will be expected shortly. Minister Daly has various meetings with the HSE and local political or other representatives about improving mental health services in Roscommon. The most recent of these was a constructive meeting last night in Leinster House, as already been stated, and also recent visits by Minister Daly to the area. The Deputy can rest assured that he and the Department of Health will continue to closely monitor the issues to ensure that the recommendations of this report can be delivered as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much, Minister. And indeed, I don't in any way doubt your sincerity on the issue. Minister Daly did chair the meeting last night, and Minister Daly did a good job in chairing the meeting. But from a HSE perspective, it wasn't constructive at all. It looks very, very doubtful as to the continuation of that particular unit in Castlereagh, which is vital for the mental health services in County Roscommon. The capacity there, Minister, in that centre, which is an excellent centre and an excellent building, is 33. And deliberately, the HSE have refused to take new people in over a period of 2 years. It's now down to 12. So it just looks they're going to let people go until there's nobody left and they close it down. I want to go back briefly, Minister, to that report, that independent report, which, as I said, was a shocking indictment of the situation in Roscommon, and give you a few facts from it. And just to remind you again what happened. In 2012, the HSE returned £4.57 million funding from Roscommon. In 2013, they sent back £6.91 million. In 2014, they sent back £6.19 million. €17 million, which I know you'll be shocked with yourself, sent back by the HSE out of the mental health services in Roscommon when it was under pressure. Now, that review, which was carried out, 60 staff were interviewed as part of that review, and some excellent frontline staff, I have to say, and were very outspoken about some things that were going on. And they want the service to improve. They want a proper service for the people. We have to, make the HSE realise here that they're dealing with very vulnerable people, as you will know yourself. and as I said again, I know in your own constituency you do a lot of work like this. These are vulnerable people. Please, Minister, bring back the message for me that the HSE are not going to continue to treat people in my constituency like this, who have, in many cases, mild mental health issues and need support and need help. Thank you.
Minister, final supplementary reply.
I assure the Deputy that I certainly will bring back his message. Can I just also say, I'm very, I suppose, taken back by the fact that with mental health services right across all our communities now, and I have to say I've had experience of it in my own family with the mental health service locally, how important it is for people to be in a happy environment, and people be in an environment where there is continuity and where they can feel at home, to be honest with you. And I suppose for anybody who is suffering or knows relatives or has relatives who has mental health issue, it's very important that that continuity is transferred not only from the service providers or the staff, but into the family as well. And I do appreciate the message that you've given me and the concerns, and I will, as I said earlier, Chair, do my best, as always, can I add, to relay the messages back from the TDs who raised the issues when the main minister isn't here. And I would hope, I wouldn't only hope, I would want, to be honest with you, that they would reply back to the deputies at the level they need to be replied to as well. So I'll continue to do that when I lose my job.
No, I appreciate that, Minister. I now move on to the last topical 4, in the name of Deputy James Brown, to discuss plans for the future of Ross.